I'm a broke college guy, yet I ended up becoming Sophie's man on the side. Everyone's envious of me, but they don't know that my relationship with Sophie is really simple. Hotel room 2101. When called, I came. My place. When called, I came. Other than that, nothing else. Tonight, after yet another intense session, she suddenly asked me, "Do you know Justin? He's my classmate. Why?" "Push his contact to me," Sophie said, holding a thin lady's cigarette with a deadpan tone. "I want to chase him." I looked at Sophie, dumbfounded. "You want to chase him? Why not? What about me?" I blurted out. Right after, Sophie gave a smile with a deeper meaning. Her smile was both beautiful and a bit roguish, but her eyes were ice cold. "Frank, don't be stupid. You didn't really think I'd develop feelings for you over time, did you?" I snapped back to reality. Yeah, being with Sophie, I was here to make up for my past mistakes, not to date her. She'd never, ever fall in love with me. Once I got my mind right, I nodded. "Sure, I'll send it to you now. Want me to set up a dinner for you too?" Hearing this, Sophie didn't look pleased. Her face turned even colder. Sophie threw me out, tossed out my clothes too. I'd already gotten used to her unpredictable moods, so I picked up my jacket from the ground and put it on. When I was leaving the villa, I bumped into a good-looking guy. He was stylishly dressed but was being stopped at the gate by security. "I need to see Sophie." "Sophie, it's me." I vaguely recognized him. Some minor actor. The last dinner. Sophie smiled at him a few times and said some nice words. He fell head over heels for her. Too bad Sophie couldn't care less. She wouldn't even glance at him again. The guy turned his face to me. "It's you again. You're just a broke college boy, and yet you're sticking around Sophie like a leech." I wasn't mad, just smirked a little. "Sophie has some serious stamina and skills. You haven't experienced that, have you?" With that, I walked away for good. All I could hear behind me was his frustrated yelling. I get where he's coming from. For real. Sophie is like a siren. Just a slight tilt of her head, a little curve of her lips, and she's got you under her spell. Too bad. She's just a heartless minx. No, she did have a heart once, but I crushed it with my own hands. Sophie and I went to the same school since middle school, but we were nowhere near friends. I was top of the class, a teacher's favorite. Sophie was the opposite. A fighter, a class skipper, a smoker. Only thing about her though? Her face was ridiculously attractive. Thanks to that face, Sophie became a big deal in our little southern town. We were like parallel lines. Until junior year when our paths crossed. That year, my mom, who's all I had, got diagnosed with late-stage cancer. All our savings went into medical bills. It was just a drop in the bucket. Mom's health was getting worse. Come Christmas Eve, she suddenly told me she craved chocolate cake. I went to a nearby convenience store and froze at the price of that cake. I couldn't afford it. The school kept pushing me to pay for my textbooks. I had been putting it off. Tomorrow's lunch money was still up in the air. But this was my mom's wish. So I made a bold decision. I was gonna steal it. Everything went smoothly at first. With the cake tucked under my arm, I nervously headed for the exit. Then, I heard someone call my name. "Frank?" Their voice, so pleasant, almost made my skin tingle. Knowing what I was doing, I didn't dare turn around. Sophie walked up with her shopping bag. "It is you. Thought I had the wrong person when you didn't answer." My palms were sweaty, and I distractedly asked, "Do I know you?" She hesitated, then said, "I'm Sophie. You here to buy stuff?" "No, just browsing. There's something I want to give you." "What?" Sophie handed me a letter, pink. I didn't have the brain space to think what it could be, just shoved it into my pocket. Once I reached the exit, what I dreaded happened. The sensors screeched loudly. At the same time, a staff member yelled, "We're short a cake." Suddenly, everyone's eyes were on us. "It's gotta be you too, cake thieves." Sophie was hot-tempered, snapped back. "Shut up, who'd want your stupid cake?" I felt the cake box nearly crushed in my pocket. What now? If caught, I'd miss even that little bit of allowance next month. Mom's still in the hospital. She needs treatment. I still have to pay for books, class fees. I can't even afford food now. Debt collectors could come knocking anytime. One after another, the huge burdens crushed my should-be-carefree 16. So I made a decision I regret the most. In the commotion, I secretly slipped the cake into Sophie's bag. The manager came to check us. When the bag was opened, Sophie looked stunned. So it wasn't you stealing. There's no cake on your receipt. Who knows how it got there? I didn't steal it. Ask him. Frank, you were right in front of me at checkout. You saw I didn't take the cake. The manager turned to me. Son, speak up. Don't be afraid. My heart sank lower and lower. I reluctantly nodded. It was her. I feel like I'll never forget the look on Sophie's face then, when the store held her back. Until I left, she hadn't spoken another word, but her eyes stayed on my back, cold and sharp. So much so, I felt like I was escaping. I got back to the hospital, my body was still shaking. I sat frozen the whole night, overcome with regret. I should have gone to the police to explain. Sophie wasn't a thief. But I didn't go. That night, my mom passed away. She never got to eat that chocolate cake she wanted so badly. After handling her funeral, days passed. I immediately went to find Sophie to apologize. Apologize and then clear things up at the police station with her. Yeah, that's the plan. But when I got to her class door, classmates said, "You looking for Sophie? She's gone." What? She got caught stealing, almost beaten to death by her dad. You know her dad, right? He's real nasty. Nearly beat her half dead. Made a huge scene. Got Sophie expelled after. This bad, seriously? Yeah, my classmate gave me a weird look. She used to be just a slacker, but now her reputation is stained. The school definitely doesn't want her around. Do you know where she went? No clue, but I heard she moved to another city. I went to the police station again, but no matter how I explained, the adults didn't believe me. Sophie had confessed to everything. She owned up to it clean and clear. The officer with the hat joked, "Are you guys in a teenage romance? That's not good, you know. If your girlfriend messes up, she needs to face the consequences herself. But young people like you tend to act silly. Trying to take the blame for your girlfriend, that's quite romantic. But I advise you to break up with her. If she's stealing before turning legal, she's got character issues." I stumbled home in a daze. From my coat pocket, there fell a letter I'd almost forgotten. It was a love letter. A love letter from Sophie to me. Now, Sophie's turned into a legitimate big shot. After getting expelled, no school wanted to take her. She hustled on her own, climbed her way up from the bottom. She made it to where she is today with sheer determination. She never hides her past. When reporters ask, she casually replies, "Yeah, I didn't graduate high school. Half a year ago, we crossed paths again." She was smoking, smiling mischievously. "In grad school now? No surprise, you were always the good student." That good student remark made my face burn with shame. On the weekend, I arranged a dinner and introduced Justin to Sophie. Justin is like the school heartthrob. He was quite intrigued by Sophie. He spent 2 hours getting ready for dinner. The moment he walked into the private dining room, you could see Sophie's eyes narrow. "What's your major?" "Finance." "No wonder you've got that elite vibe." Justin gave a shy smile. I'd only heard Sophie's name on the news before. Couldn't believe we're the same age, and she's already so successful. Hearing that, Sophie gave a faint smile, pulling out a chair for him herself. "I just started working earlier than you all." They chatted happily with a relaxed vibe. I sat in the furthest corner from Sophie. Her gaze didn't land on me again. Sophie brought some of her girlfriends too. And out of nowhere, someone said, "Hey, don't you think Justin and Frank look kind of alike?" As soon as that was said, everyone was sizing us up. You're right, there is a resemblance. Justin's face soured. Sophie noticed immediately and defended him. "What, are you guys blind? Skinny Frank compared to Justin?" Justin heaved a sigh, his smile returning. I lowered my eyes meekly, acting like I didn't hear anything. But then my phone rang, breaking my peace. I glanced at the caller ID and excused myself from the room. "Hello, Howard." "Frank, when are you planning on coming in for the checkup? Are you trying to die?" The voice on the other end was annoyed. "I've never seen a patient like you, treating cancer like it's a common cold." Sorry, Howard, I'm not planning to come. Why? You just want to give up? Pretty much. Listen, thyroid cancer progresses very slowly. With proper checkups and treatment, there's over a 90% chance of curing it. But what about that remaining 10%? Why do you always think you're in that 10%? Because my mom was. Howard suddenly went silent. Cancer runs big in families. When they found out I had the same illness as my mom, I'd already made up my mind. No treatment. I don't have family or money. Maybe dying would be a relief. Then get here promptly, do the checkup, stop delaying. Howard urged. Thanks, Doc. I hung up and suddenly sensed someone behind me. Sophie had come out without me noticing, standing right there. Who were you talking to? A friend. Your friend's a doctor? Are you sick? A little cold. I hoped she hadn't heard anything. Thankfully, Sophie wasn't suspicious. She gave a light scoff. You just need medicine for a cold. No need to call a doctor. I was at a loss for words. Couldn't argue back. Luckily, she didn't press further. Just went back inside to hang out with Justin. On the day I decided to forgo treatment, I realized there was something left undone. I wanted to make amends with Sophie. Her look in the supermarket 6 years ago kept haunting my dreams, unsettling me. So I reached out to her, apologized, and offered to work for her. I didn't mention my illness. She casually said, "Anything I ask?" "Yes." "Then take off your clothes." I hesitated for just 3 seconds before starting to unbutton. Her face changed, gripping my chin, suddenly angry. "Are you really undressing?" Her grip hurt, but I didn't stop. From that night on, Sophie showed me her anger. Biting, licking. She invented ways to torture me. And I, regardless of storms, came whenever she called, enduring it all. As long as she could let it out. I didn't go back to the dining room. I went straight back to school. Figured Sophie wouldn't call me over again that night. But to my surprise, Justin didn't stay over either. When he came back, he carried one of the gifts Sophie got him. A chocolate cake. A lot bigger and more expensive than the one I'd once stolen. Sophie said to share a piece with you. Justin glanced at me. "Do you want some?" I shook my head. "I don't like chocolate cake." That's what I told her too. Justin fiddled with the Patek Philippe Sophie gifted him, completely in love. "Oh, by the way, she asked me to give you this. It was my backpack. I must have left it in Sophie's car." As soon as I took the bag, it felt different. Unzipping it, I found several boxes of cold medicine. I was still stunned when I heard Justin say, "Frank, I've actually heard about you and her. I don't mind because I figure a woman like her can't have no past. You're history now, so mind your boundaries in the future." I numbly nodded, agreeing. But Justin didn't know that the boundaries between Sophie and me weren't set by me. It was Sophie who decided everything. The next day, it was pouring rain. I left home without an umbrella. A familiar red Ferrari stopped next to me. The window rolled down, and there was Sophie with a somewhat gloomy look. "Didn't you see my message?" I saw it. She had texted me 3 hours ago, asking me to meet her that night. "Why didn't you reply?" I just didn't feel right about it. The car door swung open, and she pulled me inside. "Frank, you've got guts now, making me come to grab you." Today's spot was a hotel. Sophie loved to switch up the settings. Her places, the city's top hotels, and her car. We'd been everywhere. Today it was a new hotel. The top floor with floor-to-ceiling windows. The storm raging outside, pounding the glass. It was intense. Sophie grabbed my chin, kissing fiercely as usual. But I wasn't really into it. "Sophie, calm down. Think about Justin." "Justin?" She paused for a second. "Oh right, I remember now. Is that why you didn't reply? If you're gonna go after him, treat him with respect. You're defending him, but he hasn't got much good to say about you. That's not my problem. I just want a clear conscience." "Clear conscience?" Sophie laughed. Her laughter was dripping with sarcasm. I knew I was the last person in her world entitled to use those words. Sophie pushed me onto the bed. "Frank, I'm not so desperate as to jump into bed with someone after just one meeting." "Oh really? But the first day we reunited, we went at it hard for 2 hours straight." I didn't say it out loud, but Sophie read it from my eyes. Irritated, she bit my shoulder, muttering, Focus. She started kissing from my shoulder, slowly moving down, and quickly reached the intimate parts, easing into it like she'd done a million times. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, urgent and tense. Sophie was really annoyed. Get lost. Boss, it's urgent, we found a hospital report. Get lost. It's a cancer report. The assistant quickly changed his tune, saying it fell out of Frank's bag. The door swung open. Sophie snatched the report. She checked it over and again, her hand shaking. I calmly said, "This isn't mine." The top left corner of the report was missing, just where the name should have been. If it isn't yours, how'd it end up in your bag? Maybe the hospital made a mistake. I fumbled in my bag and found the missing piece. To fit the report perfectly, completing it. See, the patient's name isn't mine. Finally, Sophie breathed a sigh of relief and tossed the report in the trash. But Sophie didn't know. If she just glanced into my bag, she'd have found another report with my name, worse than the one she threw away. That day, at the hospital, there was a printing glitch. The report for the previous patient came out, too. I just tossed it into the bag without thinking. See, I knew you couldn't be that sick. After the scare, Sophie went back to her usual aloofness. Frank, you've got a debt to settle with me. Think you can die on me? Not a chance. What if I really am sick? Impossible. I mean, if I were… Sophie gripped my jaw tight, filled with malice, interrupting. Then you're faking it. I wouldn't believe a word. Not a bit surprising from Sophie. She despised me, maybe she'd even be happier if I were gone. For the next few days, Sophie didn't contact me. But Justin was out and about a lot. Every time he came back, he looked thrilled, with a new watch to boot. No need to guess who gave it to him. I didn't feel much about it. I guess when you're waiting to die, you get numb. I didn't see Sophie for half a month. A high school classmate came to the city for business and arranged a dinner. Sophie hosted, inviting a bunch of people. Justin came as her date. And I was only invited because I knew this girl. Her name is Kathy, Sophie's high school deskmate. When we met, she came straight over. Frank, long time no see. Yeah, it sure has been a while. I heard you're doing self-media stuff now, that's awesome. Well, compared to Sophie, I'm nowhere near. Back then, she was the most promising in our class. I smiled and stayed quiet. While we chatted, Sophie and Justin arrived. Kathy joked, Sophie, is this your boyfriend? So handsome. Everyone gathered around. They seemed to praise Justin's good looks. But really, they were complimenting Sophie's taste. Justin looked like he was on cloud 9 with all the gushing. I just quietly stayed in my corner. After a few drinks, everyone got a bit tipsy. Someone brought up school days and it shifted to Sophie. I heard Sophie never dated in school. Is that true? It's true. Doesn't seem like it. Sophie gave a lazy smile. So, what do you think I should be like? Player? Kathy chimed in with a playful laugh. I can vouch, she really didn't date. Wow, Sophie used to be quite pure. Like, really pure. Kathy, tipsy and excited, added. Although she didn't date, she had a crush and wrote him a love letter. I froze, my chopsticks dropping the food back into the plate. Everyone was intrigued. Sophie writing a love letter? Justin turned to Sophie, seeking confirmation. She nonchalantly admitted, yeah, that happened. I buried my head even lower. With everyone's curiosity piqued, Kathy slowly revealed. I remember that night. Sophie didn't sleep, wore out a dictionary, and got a pink envelope ready in advance. Yeah, with a clumsy heart she drew on it. Oh my gosh. What kind of guy gets Sophie to write a love letter? Must have been some looker. Kathy shook her head. No idea. Never seen him either. I just remember Sophie saying she had a crush on him for 3 years. Unbelievable. Then Kathy seemed to remember something and turned to look at me. Frank, you went to middle school with Sophie, do you know who it is? Everyone looked at me, curious and expectant. Except Sophie, who just looked indifferent, like a silent warning. I got the hint and said, I don't know either. With some alcohol in them, people started getting bolder. They bombarded Sophie with questions. Sophie, come on, tell us. Yeah, Sophie, share with us. They say first loves are unforgettable. Do you remember him? Amidst the chatter, Sophie lit a cigarette and simply said, "Already forgot." After the meal, there was more to come. Sophie booked a private room at a club. Everybody gathered around, playing games. I wasn't feeling great, but couldn't find an excuse to slip away. Sophie hates when people leave halfway during her events, especially me. She once said she wants me by her side, even if I die. If she was staying, so was I. I reluctantly joined in the games. Luck was not on my side, and I got picked quickly. I had to pick a girl and share a cookie with her. I looked around. Sophie was chatting with Justin, both laughing. I skipped over her and looked to my left. "Kathy, you up for it?" "Sure, I'm single." "How about you?" I hesitated. "I'm single too." My relationship with Sophie didn't count, technically. The crowd egged us on, almost shouting the roof down. Kiss, kiss. Old classmates meeting up, bound to create sparks. Amid the ruckus, I picked up my end of the cookie, about to take a bite when a sharp sound interrupted us. Sophie had smashed a glass on the floor. "Oops, slipped from my hand," she said, blank-faced. "I'll get a waiter to clean up." "No, now," she insisted. The game had to pause. Once everything was cleared, Sophie casually suggested starting a new round, and the host was all ready to deal again. "Hang on," I said. "I haven't finished my dare yet." Sophie's smile froze, her eyes turned cold. Under everyone's gaze, I finished the cookie with Kathy. I backed off just before the last bit, letting her finish it. She blushed, but no one noticed. Sophie chugged drink after drink, her grip tightening around the glass, turning her knuckles white. By the end of that ordeal, I felt wiped out, slumping on a chair. The ache in my tooth had spread to my head. No wonder they say a toothache can be hell. I couldn't hang anymore. While Sophie took a call, I hurriedly approached her. "Sophie." Once she was done, I said, "I think I'm gonna head home." "Something up?" Her voice was icier than usual. "I'm not feeling too great." "Where does it hurt?" "Toothache. Got a headache too." She chuckled bitterly. "Frank, do I look like an idiot to you? You seemed super into your turn during the game. It's like you didn't want people to miss it. You think you can skip out without paying your dues to me? And you're already trying to find a girlfriend? Did I say you could?" She looked at me with something dark in her eyes, and her smile turned colder. "If you leave, does that mean Kathy's leaving too?" "No," I tried explaining. "I've just not felt well all night. It's getting worse. I just need to rest." Sophie marched over, grabbed my chin with one hand, and forced open my mouth with the other, sticking her fingers in. I stared at her in shock, shaking my head, trying to signal her to stop. The private room was right there. Our friends could walk out anytime and see this. It'd be impossible to explain. But Sophie ignored my warning. Her rough fingers, not those of a pampered princess, prodded around clumsily in my mouth. "No swelling. You're faking it," she said, removing her fingers with a slick thread of saliva trailing. I covered my mouth, coughing. "Stay inside until I'm done for the night. Then you can go. I really am hurting. Then hurt till you drop dead for all I care." Sophie stormed back toward the room, but her words snapped something inside my head. As she turned, I collapsed to the floor. Sophie's mind went blank. All she remembered was stumbling around, mind in a frenzy. She nearly forgot she'd been drinking. It was the driver who stepped in first and prevented disaster. When handing Frank over to the doctors, she realized her arms were shaking. Right, what nonsense had she just spat out? "Oh yeah, then hurt till you drop dead." Sophie's eyes reddened, and her nails dug deep into her flesh. If anything really happened to Frank, she couldn't bear the thought. In these 6 years, she struggled with hatred for him. So much she dreamt of him every night. Enough to call his name when she was alone, seeking solace. And on the streets, glimpsing someone with a similar build, she'd lose all sense briefly. Sophie remembered one time she'd dozed off in the car. The driver had said, "Boss, you were mumbling someone's name." "What?" she'd asked. "A dude's name. Must be someone you care about to say it even in your sleep." The driver was new then, unaware of her temper, cracking jokes. That day, Sophie had thrown a tantrum, seemingly just to prove something. It wasn't love, it was hate. So why was she like this now? Shouldn't she feel relieved? Why did her heart clench painfully, like she might throw up? The doctor came out. Sophie caught a quick look at his name tag. His name was Howard, and it seemed he knew Frank. When I brought Frank over just now, this guy Howard said, "Is it Frank? Then let me handle it." Sophie stepped up and asked, "How is he?" "He passed out because he hasn't been resting well. He probably has long-standing sleep issues. And his mouth? He's got a wisdom tooth, just needs to have it pulled." Sophie let out a sigh of relief. She knew Frank would be okay. He must live. That's the only way her love and hate can have a vessel. "Who are you?" Howard continued the conversation. "Girlfriend. He has a girlfriend?" Never heard him mention that. Howard was surprised and murmured, "Shouldn't be if he has someone, why give up on treatment?" "What did you say?" "Oh, since you're Frank's girlfriend, push him to come to the hospital for further treatment." Sophie was a bit dazed. "Treatment? You didn't know? Frank's cancer can't be delayed anymore." Sophie's mind went blank. She thought she misheard. "Sorry, I didn't understand you." "Not told, huh? Guess he really plans to give up." Howard sounded a bit sympathetic, saying, while he's still not awake, "Come with me." He led Sophie into his office and showed her a bunch of ultrasound images. "See, this is Frank's ultrasound report. Here, suspected malignant tumor." Howard tried to keep his voice gentle. "For the past 6 months, I've been urging him to come for surgery, but he said he's decided to forego treatment. You know about Frank's mom, right? She died from the same disease. After his mother passed, he was left with no family, no savings, and always in mourning. That's why he wanted to end it all." Sophie listened, feeling like she might fall over. She heard about Frank's mother's death after dropping out of school. To protect him, only a few teachers at school knew about his family situation. That's why she never heard a word. Frank has no family left. Sophie felt bitter inside. She even regretted leaving home at the time. "So doctor, what's his current condition?" Sophie pressed on. "Unclear, surgery is needed to find out." As the talk was wrapping up, Howard told her, 6 years ago, I was just an intern shadowing a mentor. We handled Frank's mom back then. Later, I got transferred to City B. Never thought I'd run into Frank again. Talk to him, don't let him give up because of a chocolate cake." "A chocolate cake?" "That was his mother's last wish." Howard sighed. Her final wish was a supermarket chocolate cake. But they were truly out of money, couldn't even cover hospital bills. Howard didn't notice the sudden paleness on Sophie's face as he said the last sentence. That little cake became a knot in the young man's heart. When I woke up, the ultrasound report was clenched in Sophie's hand. I knew I couldn't hide it anymore. Sophie's eyes were red. But it was different from before. Not the kind of red when emotions overflow. She genuinely seemed to have cried. "Frank, can I ask you something?" Her voice was hoarse. "Sure, ask." "Did your mom ever get that chocolate cake in the end?" "No." Sophie went silent. She seemed to need something to distract herself from breaking down. She started peeling an apple. But she was too shaky and nearly cut her finger. "Why didn't you ever tell me? That chocolate cake, it's important to you. Telling you, would it make you forgive me?" "It would." "Then there's even less reason to tell you." I smiled a bit and explained. "I've got tons of reasons, but none justify hurting you, nor are they reasons for your forgiveness. Because your life is equally important." The fruit knife slipped, and she eventually did cut her hand. Blood beads ran down onto the white sheets, glaringly red. Sophie didn't react. She seemed numb to the pain. "Frank, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been harsh with you, shouldn't have doubted you, shouldn't have tried to tick you off with Justin. Don't apologize to me. I'm the one who should apologize to you first. No, it's my fault. Justin and I never had anything. I only went to test you, but now I regret it. I was such an idiot. I should have realized sooner." Sophie hung her head, shoulders shaking. Her voice was stifled with sobs. It was the first time I'd seen Sophie like this. So humble, so regretful. I chuckled, "Don't be like that. It's not like you. Frank, I'll be with you for the treatment." I froze. "Treatment?" She finally met my gaze. "Yes, Howard said there's hope to cure it. I'll be with you always. Don't worry about the medical bills either." Honestly, I've got a resistance to treatment. The memory of how much pain my mom endured is still vivid. She went through so much suffering, yet still left with pain. But Sophie was determined. I knew that nothing I'd say would change her mind. So, I forced a smile and complied warmly. All right. Sophie stayed by the bedside up until the next afternoon when she got a call from work. A meeting required her personal attendance. I guess because I promised her too cooperatively, she didn't think much of it or leave anyone to watch over me. She had just left when I slipped away. I went back to the dorm first. Justin was there too. Turns out, last night until the party ended, neither Sophie nor I returned. I hesitated, debating whether to explain. But Justin spoke up first. Frank, Sophie's love letters back then, they were for you, right? I was taken aback. How do you know? Justin was casually shining his new watch. I've seen enough women to spot such things. It'd be a waste if I couldn't. Then why'd you agree to see her? For fun. He replied, indifferent. At first, I wanted to see if I could steal her away. You two weren't a thing, so what if I succeeded? Later, I realized her heart was all for you, so I gave up. But hey, she'd get me watches just for playing along. So it wasn't a loss for me. Justin never hides his love for money. But he also never wastes time on women who don't like him. Oh, by the way, help me thank Sophie. Thanks to her, I found my next target. Who? He pointed to a business card on the table. The name looked familiar. It's that new entrepreneur from last night's party. Financially, he's on par with Sophie. Justin, thanks for telling me. But you should thank Sophie in person. What's the deal? You two have a fight? Instead of answering, I asked, can you not tell her you saw me today? Justin looked at me seriously for a moment. Sure, but I'm curious about something. Go ahead. Frank, how could you introduce someone you like to me? After I finished packing my dorm stuff, I rushed to the train station. I bought the next high-speed train ticket home. I turned off my phone so Sophie couldn't find me. All the way, Justin's words echoed in my head. Sophie is someone I like. Really? Do I like her? Have I been with her for 6 months just to make up for some debt I owe? A hidden feeling seemed to have been seen through by Justin. 3 hours later, I got home. The southern town was as humid as ever. I walked down familiar streets, eating all the foods I used to love. Felt like I was saying goodbye to the world. My high school alma mater had been remodeled. It looked impressive now. I walked the familiar path from the school gate back home. Halfway, someone suddenly greeted me. Frank? Is it really you? Mrs. Wilton, long time no see. Mrs. Wilton used to live next door to us. She was an electrician for the city's construction office. I asked, are the streetlights getting an upgrade? Yep, the last time was 7 years ago. I remembered that. Back in my first year of high school, the lights here were pretty dim. One day after school, suddenly they were bright, lighting up the way home. Speaking of which, back then, the bulb replacement was pushed by a girl from your school. What? That girl came to our office, insisting we change the bulbs on this street. She came back for several weeks. I remember that. Another worker chimed in. The boss got so frustrated he finally agreed. Finding it amusing, I laughed and said, didn't know you could do that. Yeah, when replacing the bulbs, Sophie was enthusiastically helping. My smile froze. Wait, who? Sophie from your school, the one who dropped out later. Right, did you all know? The worker started gossiping. That girl changed the bulbs because a boy she liked lived on this street. Wow, really? Which boy? I know almost every kid on this road. How would I know? The workers chatted rapidly, piecing together a past I never knew. I stepped forward and asked, Mrs. Wilton, can I have one of those old bulbs? Sure, but what for? My aunt's old house doesn't have anyone living there. It's not worth buying new bulbs. I think these might still work. Sure, take one. After my mom passed, I stayed at my aunt's. Her family moved to the big city years ago, leaving the house empty. I only stayed there when visiting for my mom's grave. My aunt's house is empty. In fact, with the development over the years, there are hardly any residents left on this street. Once bustling, it now felt deserted. I grabbed a stool, planning to replace the bulb. Then I noticed some writing on the base of the bulb. Years of weathering blurred the words, which is why Mrs. Wilton hadn't noticed. There were 3 letters. Frank. My heart skipped a beat. I knew that handwriting all too well. Sophie still writes like that. The bulb still worked, though it wasn't as bright as it once was. I just stared at it. It was like looking at my 16-year-old self. Back then, in those times that almost crushed me, someone loved me more than she loved herself. I stayed at my aunt's for 2 days. Every night I dreamt of my mom. Her smile was as gentle as ever. I tried to hold her. I wanted to tell her so much. About my growth, my grievances. But in the end, what I managed to whisper was, "Mom, I want to live." I almost woke myself up. I came back intending to say goodbye. But now, because of Sophie, I'm thinking of wanting to live? How did that happen? Before I could figure it out, my body was already in motion. I grabbed my bag and ran out, back to City B, to find Sophie. I wanted to tell her that at 16 I liked you too. The wind whistled in my ears, my muscles ached with the run, but I didn't feel tired at all. Passing by the high school gate, I suddenly saw a familiar red Ferrari. Sophie stopped sharply. "Frank, where are you trying to run off to now?" She ran toward me, and her silhouette overlapped with that from our youth. This time, I didn't turn away. "I'm not going anywhere, Sophie. I was just about to find you. This time, I'm the one running towards you." Epilogue. Sophie found Frank quickly thanks to their old classmates. After hearing Frank had left the hospital, she first asked Justin. Justin initially didn't admit he had seen him, but when he heard Frank was sick, he came clean. Yet Justin didn't know where Frank went after that. Kathy also helped with the search, grumbling along the way. "If you had said he was the one you liked from the start, why did I even share cookies with him?" Sophie kept silent. "I see why you broke the cup. You didn't want us eating the cookies." "Well, can't deny they tasted good. Still the flavor from childhood." Sophie snapped. "Can we stop talking about those damn cookies?" They asked some classmates, promising to let them know the moment they got in contact with me. And by the next night, they had news. "My mom saw Frank yesterday." That was a chubby girl from the class next door back then. Her mom was an electrician in our hometown. She wasn't accepted into college, followed in her mom's footsteps, and stayed as an electrician. Sophie drove all night on the highway, not getting a wink of sleep. Finally, I made it to that southern town by morning. Thankfully, Frank wasn't running away anymore. He said he wasn't planning to go anywhere. He just wanted to catch a train back to City B to find her. Sophie couldn't remember what she said in response. All she recalled was a long kiss. Frank had returned her feelings. That small change erased all of Sophie's fatigue and made her super excited. Back in City B, Frank immediately prepared for surgery. He was nervous, so nervous he couldn't sleep the night before. Sophie stayed with him the whole time. Frank asked, "What if I die?" "I'll find a master to perform a ceremony for you." "To send me off?" "No, to turn you into a ghost and keep you with me until I die." That's so Sophie. Only she could come up with that idea. Frank turned over and snuggled into her. "Just in case something goes wrong tomorrow, there's something I want to tell you." "What is it?" "I used to like you too, ever since you saw me home that day." Sophie was momentarily stunned, holding him even tighter. "Then let me tell you something too. I've always liked you, never stopped." Sophie later thought about it for a long time. Why did she admit to a crime she didn't commit? Even when her father beat her up, leaving her covered in blood, she maintained her innocence. Probably because deep down she always had a voice saying, Frank had his reasons. She didn't hate him for slandering her. She only hated herself for not confessing sooner. If she had, she could have officially bought that little cake for him. Of course, there was something else Sophie hadn't mentioned. If Frank really died, besides the ceremony, she had a plan B. She'd die with him. Sophie didn't see it as a romantic tragedy, nor did she think she was being dramatic. It was just pure love, enough to die for, to prove her undying commitment. She was a little crazy at heart. Otherwise, she couldn't have climbed to this position in just 6 years. The next day, Frank underwent surgery. The pathology results came back fast. Howard's eyes were shining. "Sophie, here's something amazing. Frank's nodule might just be a nodule." "What?" Sophie was stunned. Intraoperative frozen section shows it's not malignant. Howard was excited. Even though his preliminary tests were bad, with all signs pointing to malignancy, the pathology is the most accurate conclusion. It wasn't the first time this had happened. A highly suspected cancerous lesion turned out to be a benign nodule. Sophie's heart was about to leap out. You're saying he doesn't have cancer? Intraoperative frozen section's accuracy is as high as 90%. We still need to do a full pathology to confirm. A few days later, the full pathology results were good. The alarm was completely lifted. A few days more, and Frank was discharged. You have a family history, so you should follow up regularly, Howard said. Sophie was the first to agree. Yes, doctor, I'll make sure to bring him. Howard smiled. Congrats, Frank, on starting a new life. Frank broke down and cried happy tears. When he thought the world had abandoned him, he discovered that someone actually cared. And it wasn't just one person. At the hospital door, Justin and his new girlfriend brought gifts to pick him up. They all went to Sophie's place to hang out, to lift Frank's spirits following the hospital stay. It wasn't until late that night that everyone finally left. Frank was a bit exhausted, but also very happy. Sophie tidied up the mess and held him close. Sophie, I'll have a scar on my neck. So what? You mind? Sophie laughed. I've seen you at your worst. Why worry about this? Hearing that, Frank laughed too. Those demons that tormented him could finally be faced lightly, even in jest. Sophie kissed his palm and said sincerely, Frank, I love you. From the first moment I met you at 14, I've loved you. That hungry 14-year-old girl, wandering the streets. It was Frank who bought her a piece of bread. Later on, he changed so much, grew so tall, and his features matured. She didn't recognize him. But it didn't matter as long as she remembered. And she'd always remember. From here on, life's a long journey. She'd replace the whole world and love him with all her heart.